Okay, today we are going to be making some Batman Batarang throwing stars. And what we need is just a printed off Batarang from the internet, printed on just some white paper here, and some kind of metal. This is just a chunk of some scrap metal I found, and this is about an 8-inch thick. And you probably don't want to go too much thinner than this, and if it's too thick it just doesn't fly very well. Other things we need are a good file, metal file, some pliers because when we cut, the metal gets hot, and I've got some scissors to cut this thing out here. I have some extra special tools that I like to use. This guy will allow me to grind the edges, and then also I have an angle grinder which I will use to cut it out. You don't have to have one of these, but it certainly makes it a lot more fun and easier to do. You can also just use a jigsaw with a metal cutting blade to cut most of this out, and then you can finish it off with a file. Of course, with any time you're using power tools, wear face shield, eye protection, and then also some gloves for your hands. And don't ask me how I know why that is so important. All right, we'll get right to it here. First thing we'll do is we'll cut out the Batarang. And I don't have to be exact perfect here because we are just doing, cutting out the contrast basically. So I just need to get this small enough so I can glue it to the metal, which I use with some spray adhesive like this. So put my paper down, and I haven't used this in a while, so hopefully it works. All right, there we go. Get a little spray on there. And if you have a piece of metal that has a straight edge, it works better to have that along this top here, but this one's all chewed up. So we'll just go at it without it and stick it right on there. And then we've got to clamp it to our vise. And I'll probably get this to more of a manageable size by cutting off some larger chunks. And let me get some gloves on, and then we'll go at it. Okay, so we'll probably do this in fast motion, and I'll probably just cut this chunk off and then other ones, and then we'll just nibble away at the rest. So here we go. All right, so what we've got now is the rough shape cutout. As you can see, I've kind of cut to the points. You don't have to be real exact. I mean, these things will still work. Cut a straight line here. And then what we're going to do now is just take little nibbles of cuts into the sides of this to allow us to break off the pieces, and then we can smooth out the rest with either the hand file or this type of sanding disc. And so let me get it set up and start nibbling away. And be careful, at this point it's very hot, and you should definitely be wearing gloves. Right, so that's an example of it generally nibbled away, and we'll just do that to all the other sides and take it to the next step. So as you can see here, I've nibbled out all the other stuff here, but I've got to focus on basically the bat ears. Now my grinding disc is getting a little low. I may have to change it here, but we'll just do the same thing and nibble down, and just be careful that we preserve the ears. So here we go. So I've taken off this angle grinder blade and put on this other one, which as you can see is much thicker. This will allow me to contour these edges just a little bit better before I go into the sanding disc. So let's get at it. Alright, so now you can see I used the thicker angle grinder blade to basically even out all those notches. So what we want to do now is clean up our edges. Again, this can be done with just a regular file, you know, on a vise. But I like to do things with power tools, so let me get this. Basically, this is a die grinder with a sanding disc on it, and see how this cleans it up. Again, we're just kind of squaring off the edges, and we will sharpen them later. So now we have all of the edges basically cleaned up. It's good enough. So what I have now is the basic shape of it here, and I'm just going to clean off some of these grinding burrs. Okay, at this point you can see we have our basic shape. You know, it's not perfect and it doesn't have to be. It's not as fun to have it perfect, but you can make it perfect if you want. So we have some pretty pointy ends here. These two ends, of course, are what stick into the wood, including this end. So what we need to do now is take some time and try to sharpen this to more of a point. It'll work now, but it will work better if at least some of these edges are tapered so they stick in better. So that's what we'll do now with this same grinding disc, and that can be done also with this. more aggressively, or of course even, you know, the file going in this manner. Alright, so basically what we have here, you can see we beveled the edges here and the points down here in the tail and the other wing. This is pretty much good enough to stick into the wood. What we'll do, like any bat, it has to be black, right? Not blue like this scrap metal I had. So we'll take some black spray paint, we'll just give it a few shots, and then I'll show you the next step, which kind of gives some added flavor. So now we're going to paint it, and I'm just going to clamp it in the vise here. I don't need to get it perfect in there, but have just some scrap extra black paint that I had from a different project, and just doesn't take much to just give it a quick shot. Don't worry about it too much, it'll just get damaged anyway. Okay, we'll give that a little bit to dry, and then I'll show you the last step. The spray painted batarang, I think that's how you say it. Anyway, I'm going to take this, file the edges here, it makes it look really cool, contrast with the black. There you go. There is the Batman Batarang. Now let's go test it out. All right, so this is our target. And what is interesting about this is it's actually a ladder cover to a tree house we have up there that we had to put on there for our toddler not crawling up. And now that he's older, we just use it for the batarangs to throw. So here's the batarang. It's actually best to throw it by holding it like this and kind of keeping it parallel by over your shoulder, by your ear-ish, a little bit further away, and then you just kind of throw it like this. And it just takes a little bit of practice, but as you can see, it works pretty well. But let me put down the camera and I'll give you some good shots. You got to throw it pretty hard, but just be careful what's behind you. And there you have it, boys and girls. That is your throwing star batarang. Now, if you want to do another one that's just easier to do, you can just make a four-sided star. These stick in a lot better than these because you have a greater chance of getting them to stick in, but they're not as cool looking as the batarang. We did wet down the board here because it does help keep and preserve the wood a little bit longer, but we've thrown at this thing thousands of times and it's just like it is. So enjoy the video, have fun with your kids, and be safe. Make sure people are behind you when you throw. Until next time, around the house.